Aloha, my name is Matt Anderson. In this presentation we will look at the principles of multimedia and contiguity when used in educational design. Here's the objective for our slideshow. Basically, we will learn to apply the two principles, multimedia and contiguity. Basic concept of the multimedia principle is that when both graphics and text are used, learning is more effective. Let's take a look at an example with only text. Here we have a text box talking about how to install an optical drive in a computer. Now, if we put text together with a graphic, and the text, will the student have a better opportunity to learn? There are several different types of graphics used in multimedia. Each type has its specific uses: decorative, representational, organizational, relational, transformational, and interpretive. Over the next few slides we will look at examples of each type of graphic, and then we'll take a look at when would be a good time to use each type of graphic in educational design. First off, decorative graphics. These can spice things up or add some humor. Keep in mind they should be used sparingly, as they may not increase learning and may even distract from it, such as this jack-o'-lantern. Representational graphics illustrate or represent what something actually looks like. This example shows a computer with the cover removed. Organizational graphics show qualitative relationships among content. This example also uses a computer. Notice the difference from the representational example. Some graphics can act as more than one type. Relational graphics summarize quantitative relationships. Charts and graphs often fall into this category. Here's an example. Transformational graphics are used to show changes in time over space. Animations or video are often very effective transformational graphics. Interpretive graphics help us make intangible ideas more concrete. They help us interpret ideas or things we can't normally see. Here's an example using data flow in a basic home network. Okay, now that we've looked at different types of graphic used in multimedia education, it is important to understand when each type should be used and when they can be most effective. Here's a chart that shows some of that information. On the left-hand side we have different types of content, facts, concepts, etc. In the middle column we have a description about the content type, and on the right-hand column we have what useful graphic types could be used to represent that content type. As you can see with the content type of concepts, there may be more than one useful type of graphic. I recommend that you pause the video now and review this closely to get a good idea and a good understanding of the best types of graphics to use for different content. We will have a little bit of a quiz on this later, so go ahead and pause it and we can review it. Take as long as you need. Okay, so now we've taken a brief look at the multimedia principle. We're going to go ahead and move on and look at the second principle covered in this presentation, the contiguity principle. This principle is made up of two basic parts. First, printed words should be near the corresponding graphic. And second, spoken words should be synchronized with the corresponding graphic. Here's a contiguity question. What if the graphic and text can't fit on the same screen? In that type of situation, it can be helpful to use pop-up or rollover text that can be activated with the mouse. For example, with this chart, it may be helpful to have some additional text that as you mouse over it would pop up and give additional details. Contiguity principles also should be applied in these types of situations. Directions and the exercises should be on the same page. Feedback should be placed in the same screen as the questions and the learner answers. Captions or text related to graphics should be placed near the graphic and not at the top or the bottom of the page. Some of this may also be in our quiz, so you may want to pause again and look at these situations and make sure you review them. The second part of the contiguity principle has to do with narration being synced with the related graphic. As you can see, if they are separate, the learner has to process more and may miss out on some of the learning. So go ahead and take a moment to review this as well. So, to review before a short quiz, here are the basics of the concepts of multimedia and contiguity principles. I'll let you go ahead and read these. After they all appear, you may want to pause the video again and take as long as you need to for this review before we move on to the quiz. So pause if you feel you need to. Okay, now that you've reviewed, let's go ahead and check for understanding. Here are several statements, and try and decide if each one is true or false. Once again, I'm going to put the statements up here. I recommend that you take time to pause the video, read through all the statements, think about them, and decide if they're true or false before you move on. Feel free to take as long as you need. Alright, how did you do? Here are the answers to the quiz. As you can see, they were all false except for number 2. Thank you very much for your participation today. Here are the resources used in the presentation. I hope you learned something new. Thanks again.